I'm going to give you 10 logo design tips that I use and that you should be using whenever you're doing a logo design, because it's very important that you try and follow these steps. So number one is keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate the logo. Keep it clear and concise. So, look at the Nike logo. It's just a tick. Look at the Macca's logo. It's just an M. Keep it simple. I'm not saying all logos should be simple, depending on what the client needs, but you want to try and keep it as clear as possible. So when people see it, whatever age they are, if they're young or old, they'll be able to recognize it clearly and distinctly. So you don't want to put too many effects and drop shadows and all that stuff. Just keep it as simple as possible so that it's easy to understand and that it's legible as well. Number two is keep it memorable. Let it be on top of the mind of consumers and allow them to remember it for years. So as soon as they look at your logo, as soon as they turn away, they should be, and if you ask them 30 seconds later what they just saw, they should be able to remember it. If they can't remember it, then your logo is too complicated. So you want to make sure they remember it, even if it's a week from now, a month from now. But when they see it, they recognize that, oh yeah, I remember that. It looked like it's a lion or whatever it is. And they should be able to remember it. So it's got to be unique, got to be distinct. Number three is consistency. It has to correlate with the brand and the style and personality of the brand. And it has to be consistent with spacing, with the balance, with symmetry, all those type of things, and even hierarchy as well. You got to put those design principles into practice here. So keep it consistent, make sure it's not all over the place. Obviously, depending on what type of style of logo you're designing. But make sure it's in line with the brand and with the brief as well. And you're going to obviously design a better logo. Appropriate. You always want to keep it related with the brand's identity. Obviously, you got to keep in mind that sometimes you can see on the net, people design logos and it looks like something else, like it looks like an inappropriate, has a correlation to sexual, images, which can be bad. And maybe they didn't intend for that, but it looks like that. So you got to keep in mind the shapes you're using and, every style. You got to keep in mind the shapes you're using and everything that you're adding into the logo to make sure that it's appropriate, as well as for the brand. If you're designing for a financial firm, you're not going to put like bright yellow colors in like yellow and blue and make it colorful. It's going to be a simple logo, but obviously it's for like kids' playground or something, then it's going to be more vibrant. So keep it appropriate to the brand and design that you're designing for. Be unique. So avoid cliche things, always customize and explore different concepts. Don't always stick with the literal. You can always make it more of a motif or a metaphor. It doesn't have to be like a literal logo. Keep it unique and avoid trends as well. So you always want to customize your logo and get fresh ideas. Don't copy others. You don't want to always be scouring through Dribbble or Pinterest, and those things are good, but you got to keep in mind that it's going to influence your mind and your ideas and your thoughts. So you always want to try and, research and go through books and go for a walk and get your own ideas flowing, and then do lots of sketches. And then through that process, you're going to find something that's going to work and be unique and not just the standard logos that people directly go for straight away. Typography. Typography is very important. So you got to pick the right typeface because it enhances the personality. Sometimes if you're not doing a letter mark or a typography mark, usually there will be typography involved in the part of the brand. So it's very important that you use the right typeface, whether it's sans serif, serif, script, or a brush font. You got to keep in mind what's going to be most effective for the brand and what's going to communicate the brand's values and principles best to the target audience using this typography, especially in the logo. It's got to make sure it's clear, it's easy to read, and it reflects that personality. Another cool thing is you have to keep it black and white. Another important tip is that you have to make sure the logo works in black and white. Don't always jump into color. You want to see it in grayscale, because usually in black and white, you can see the negative space and the white space as well. And you can see if it's more balanced. And also you want to check it in small sizes and big sizes in that black and white format. And then once you've done that, then you can elaborate and expand on it. Because if a logo usually works in black and white, it's going to work in color and it's going to work in other forms as well. So it's best to test it like this first, then go on to expanding it and developing the logo. An important one is color. color evokes emotion and it draws the right target audience to the logo. So as I said before, if you're designing for a firm or an accounting firm, you want to use colors like blue. If it's for like a place that does growth, or maybe it's for investments, or it's like a plant place, so they sell plants, then green earthy tones like browns and grays and that type of thing, then you can use those colors. So you always use colors that are going to relate and that the target audience will most recognize. Another cool fact is that blue builds trust, and this comes into color theory. So, and the funny thing is that women and men both enjoy like blue, but the color, if you put a color yellow, it's 60 to 70% of women like that color instead of men. So these are just cool tips that you should know when you're doing color. You have to be adaptable as well. The logo should be able to be used in every context, whether it's on a little pin or a badge, whether it's on a booklet, whether it's on a brochure or on the web page or on a billboard or a poster. It has to be adaptable. It has to be able to work in small sizes and big sizes, on digital and on print. It's got to work on both. So you want to make sure that you're designing the logo that's going to be able to be adaptable, even on t-shirts and everything. So you got to take that into consideration. And when you're designing, make sure the process that you have the flexibility to actually edit it and always change it in case things come up and you have to edit things as well. So remember, it has to be adaptable. Now, lastly, it has to be timeless. Longevity is important. Don't design fads and stay away from, the cliche trends and logo trends, because they fade away. Sometimes it's good to, practice for that, but you want to keep it timeless, especially if you're designing for bigger brands. You want that logo to last forever. You don't want them to keep changing the logo every year or every 2 years. You want it to last for 5, 10, 15 years before they have to, update it. So keep that in mind as well. You want the logo to be timeless, and it's going to have an effect on the overall brand success.